it's interesting. We have in Mike Cammalleri, co-founder of BioSteel, we have consumer products. Lawson McDonald, a D3 hockey player. People might be like, wait a minute, I've never heard of Lawson McDonald. What is he doing with all these big name athletes that I do know? And it's because he understands content creation and where media is headed. That's why he's here, because he's been able to aggregate eyeballs. And then, of course, Angela Ruggiero, we talked to her so many times. I want to hear her take of the fluid fan. And she understands that all of these athletes looking to capitalize in whatever their endeavor is, they need to meet their customers, their fans where they are. And those things are changing daily. So Eben, take it away. I see the role. Oh, wait, one thing I'm going to do. Mike, Canadian, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Lawson, where are you from?
I'm from Canada too.
Canada, Angelo, there's your Team USA, but I just wanted to show off a little bit. Here is my son's trophy from the brick tournament. The first American team to win in almost 2 decades. So because of pandemic, we're reigning champions for like 3 years now. But, I just wanted to make sure you guys know that. I don't think you have this. Do you guys?
No. It actually, I was just after that generation you're dating me. That's a big deal up here. So congrats to him.
Take it away, Eben.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate that. And guys, really excited for this. The hockey panel. I put my hair down because I figured it was appropriate for this sport discussion. But as Scott said, you guys have something in common in your sport, but also another thing. None of you waited till you were done playing hockey to think about what the future post-playing career was going to look like. Mike, I do want to start with you. You guys had some big news today. Congratulations, a deal with the Toronto Raptors. But take me back to 2009. You're playing in the NHL, I believe, Edmonton, possibly LA. Did BioSteel, was this something that you immediately thought, this could be, 10 years later, I could be doing this full time, or did it just kind of grow naturally from that?
I did. I mean, I grew up, my father was an entrepreneur, and I actually, my scholarship at the University of Michigan was endowed by the Dean of Entrepreneurial Studies, him and his wife, Mr. Tom and Connie Kinnear. So I went to Michigan at 17, and he was bringing me to venture capitalist meetings and things like that at a young age. So kind of got introduced to all that, and always had kind of a keen eye and interest, I guess, in the business world. And then the evolution of it was training and nutrition became important to me at a time where maybe it wasn't the norm that it's become today, and ended up partnering with a childhood best friend and who grew up in the locker rooms with me. And we decided, I was having challenges really finding products that I thought I could trust as far as quality and efficacy and all of those things. And so decided that we would start a brand that would represent all those things, and we were off to the races and found BioSteel on kind of those principles.
Angela, I'm curious, for you, same kind of story. How did you think about kind of what, Sports Innovation Lab, I assume, was not in your mind when you were playing, but maybe it was. Kind of what led you to kind of where you are right now?
Yeah, actually, you guys brought up a story of an NBA player. I got my master's in education and sports management while I was training for my 4th Olympics. And I had to hide it in some ways because it wasn't, it was like, keep your eye on the prize, put your blinders on, be an athlete is typically how we get treated. And I always just knew hockey wasn't going to be, my only career. I always thought of it as my first career. So I actually went back to Harvard Business School after I retired officially. Was always thinking about business. And I just, again, looked at the sports industry and saw a massive need to understand the technology that was changing fandom, that was changing the business of sports. And so there was nothing like a sports innovation lab. And so started the company from that. So I think I've always had a bit of an entrepreneurial bug. I think every athlete at their heart is an entrepreneur because you're managing. We talked a lot about a brand, as a brand, but you're managing your body, you're managing your ecosystem of your entourage, if you will. You're the product at the end of the day. You could take that in a variety of directions, but I always saw myself as an entrepreneur and my product was me. So, starting a company wasn't that crazy. It was just what would be the idea and where was there the biggest need in the market. And research was the thing that I really honed in on.
Lawson, as the next generation of hockey player, you're a good test case to see how different kind of the environment is. Do you feel like, as you look at the athletes who came before you that are succeeding off the ice, that this is not just an attainable thing for you, but something that is kind of fully accepted and, embraced within hockey and college hockey right now?
Yeah, I think definitely like the college hockey has some work with it. I feel like I may be one of the first couple to start doing what I'm doing, like having a YouTube channel, and just with like the kind of the atmosphere that college hockey gets, there needs to be a few people to go through it before it really gets a clean, accepted viewpoint from the rest of the athletes in college hockey.
Can you give us a sense of kind of what your day-to-day life is like right now? I mean, Mike and Angela both played college hockey. They understand the hockey demands that come with that. How much are you working on the side on your content creation? Kind of how do you balance doing those two things simultaneously?
Yeah, it is busy. Like as soon as I started a YouTube channel, I had to take a lot of other stuff out of my day-to-day life. So my first 2 years when I played in Omaha, I just played a bunch of video games. Like didn't have a YouTube channel. And now that when I went to D3 and I started my channel, I don't play any video games anymore. I don't have any time for that. So it is a time management thing, and you just have to learn to handle both sides of it. So it's busy though.
Angela, I think you were probably at Harvard when Facebook was being created. I'm curious how different you think, your trajectory would have been. And Mike, I want to get your thoughts on this also, how different it would have been if kind of all the social media tools that are available to, college kids right now were available in your college life and also, the early stages of your business.
Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg and I actually were in the same class, and a lot of my friends went to go work with him early on. And man, I'm kicking myself in the ass now. I could have been.
Did you not get an invite?
Could have been a billionaire now. No, when I was playing, I was one of the first athletes on Twitter back in 2009, and I loved it because for the first time I could go direct to consumer. I had done some campaigns with some sponsors and some brands where I had like a flip cam, but then I would send it to them and they had to edit and they had final editorial control. There was no way for me besides a blog, which I did have, to actually talk directly to my fans in a really efficient way. And I definitely would have been like Lawson, opening up the kimono, so to speak, to show, well, what's it like to be a hockey player, an Olympic athlete, a female hockey player. There's a lot of, I think, opportunity for current athletes today. And technology is the thing that's given them that avenue. You can go direct to consumer. You don't have to go through your agent or a brand or your team or your league. In a lot of cases, none of them are incentivized to help you as an athlete. They're incentivized to help you win games because that ultimately is their business. Their business is not you as a brand. So there's what I liked about Athletes Unlimited and how, again, some of these conversations today is we're starting to understand that the athlete can go direct to fan, direct to consumer, has the power. Everyone's following the athlete versus the league or the team, exponentially. That's a hallmark of our fluid fan research. And so the power is shifting very quickly to the athlete. And I'm super jealous, honestly. I see the trend and I wish I had those tools back in the day, but we did our best. And I'm just so grateful for athletes today that have those tools at their disposal.
Mike, you're sitting, behind jerseys, a Patrick Mahomes jersey, a DeAndre Hopkins jersey, two guys who are partners, endorsees, investors in BioSteel. What Angela just said seems like a message that you guys totally espouse, right? That, the best way to get to the consumer is through these star athletes that they're watching every Sunday or every Saturday.
Yeah, certainly. Angela and I are going to have to exchange emails after this, and we'll have to do some business together. But yeah, no, it's just listening to some of the panelists today speak. It's really about what's the next thing. I mean, it's just ever evolving and how athletes engage with their fan base. For me, my experience in college was definitely different than Lawson's. We were still calling each other's dorm rooms. I don't think I had a cell phone until my sophomore year, and then same thing with you, Angela. In 2009, we started BioSteel. So cool, this Twitter thing. This might be interesting. I was playing for the Montreal Canadiens, which in our sport is an A+ market, and started a Twitter for the purpose of maybe doing some BioSteel promotion. And within a week, I think I had like 170,000 followers, and I got completely spooked and shut it down. So yeah, it's come a long way since then, and that was my personal kind of entrance into that social world. And obviously we have a team here now at BioSteel that does it, and they fill me in, and I try and make decisions based on all their advice.
You guys had, I was reading this earlier, in 2010, you had kind of like a mini viral moment via television, right? There was a Hockey Night in Canada. There was an interview with Gary Roberts, NHL player, and he was asked, hey, what are you guys drinking on the sidelines there? And he mentioned BioSteel, and that became obviously a huge moment for your company. How different, just also from a marketing standpoint, that those, hockey players who are drinking something different now, you're going to learn about that, I feel like, via Twitter or via TikTok or via Facebook almost instantaneously. It just feels like everything just happens at a faster clip now.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that was a romantic moment for the company, and really an impactful one from the marketing standpoint, from a financial standpoint. I mean, I think we did $500,000 that day in revenue for us as a startup at the time. It allowed for us to do a big product order and get going. Gary wanted Hockey Night in Canada and just said, like, our original drink, which is this now, was a pink drink that people would see, and he just said he just loved the product and was using it. And we've never even had a formal relationship with Gary, but he just decided to tell everybody that night that the pink stuff coming out of the bottles was BioSteel. And we put up a temp page, and we put up, you could pre-order it. It's only available for pro athletes right now, and that was the way people found out about it. Nowadays, it's much different. It's people are, I think maybe we're getting to a point where people aren't even that interested anymore in the constant, video messages or tweets or Instagrams where they're seeing what people are doing all day long, and maybe there's a new and innovative way to show that.
Lawson, how do you kind of think about that? Just the role that, influencers, for lack of a better word, and, you fall into that category, kind of the role that you guys have right now for companies like BioSteel to kind of help, that marketing push along?
I think we play a really big role in it, especially being like an athlete and a hockey player, like, cause that's also BioSteel's like avenue too, is supplements and stuff for like people like me. So if I can build my own brand and I can have like 100,000 people see a video of me talking about this product, then that benefits me, it benefits them too. So the more like athletes we can have doing that, it just benefits both sides of the picture.
I'll pump your tires real quick, Lawson. You get tens of thousands of views per post. The followers you have on TikTok are double that what the New York Rangers have. When you think about being able to monetize this, and thankfully timing wise next year because of NCAA changes, you're going to be able to in a way that you're not right now. Kind of what do you think about the direct ways you do that? Is that through brands? Is that through making content for other entities? How do you think about kind of the rest of your career and turning this into a direct business now?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm a year late on it because I'm a senior now, and now they decide to pass this rule right when I'm going to be leaving. So that's kind of unfortunate for myself, but either way, like what this opportunity has brought me is going to take me past my college hockey years anyways. It'll set me up for future stuff. So I think that the brand stuff is handy though too, like being able to get like shipped like free stuff to try and use, and experimenting with that. And then I think after college, maybe my numbers have to be get a little bit bigger, but there'll definitely be opportunity there from a brand standpoint. And even maybe pro teams watching my videos and getting a read off my personality and who I am. I think that alone can open up some doors for me in the future, whether I want to play pro hockey in Europe or anywhere in the States like that. So it's helpful that way too.
Angela, I kind of consider you to be one of the foremost experts on what teams are doing tech-wise that is good and what they're missing out on that they should be doing. How do you feel that, outside of maybe Instagram and Twitter, for places like TikTok, how is the NHL, how are NHL teams doing in that regard? Can they be doing more?
Yeah, everyone could be doing more. Paul Rabel, was on earlier. The startup leagues, you had Athletes Unlimited. The newer leagues aren't beholden to the same business models. I think that's one of the biggest downfalls of these bigger, the NHLs, the NFLs, where they have collective bargaining agreements. They have long-term right deals locked up on the media side. So the leagues that I actually like, the bigger ones, are the WWEs or the UFCs that treat their athletes as contractors because they have a little bit more flexibility. But they also realize the personality of these athletes is the only way to build their brand, because the athletes themselves are individuals. So it's different because we're, team sport, we're talking hockey. I think teams are at a disadvantage versus individual sports, because just by nature of an individual sport, those personalities come out. And then the structure of the league composition, or how the deals are struck, how you incentivize athletes or help athletes to actually build their brand. I mean, look at the WWE. They are all digital. They're everywhere, and they understand that it's the power of the personality that's going to ultimately sell their product. So they're building up and elevating stars versus pushing them down and saying, no, focus on the court, no, focus on training. Obviously, you can't. It's kind of apples to oranges here, but so what tools that you use, the technologies, the different platforms, certainly those types of leagues are leaning into not just the TikToks of the world and the different social platforms, but they're building content around those athletes and giving they're giving those athletes the tools to do content and building content around them. So it's not a direct way of saying like which league is doing it better or worse. It's really what are the business models of these leagues, and how do the athletes fit into it? Again, what I love about this day today, it's like, regardless of what your league is doing, you have the power to go direct to consumer. Lean as hard as you can on your agent to help you. And if your agent isn't helping you, you've got the wrong people surrounding you. Because like Lawson, you can build a following and a business by going direct to consumer today, and really having the right people and product around you is the only way to do that. So I don't know if it answers your question, Eben, but
No, it does.
I love that. If I had to pick one right now, it would be the WWE or UFC, because they are just doing everything they can to build content around their star performers.
To change gears real quick, I would assume all three of you would say that being really good at hockey advanced you guys in a business standpoint. There were doors that were opened, et cetera. I'm curious if you guys ever run into the opposite situation. Mike, are you ever sitting in a boardroom and you feel like the person sitting across from you thinks that you're just a jock? There's ever hurdles?
I haven't really sensed that. Maybe it's my role at the company, but I can't say I have too much personal experience. In fact, the opposite. I think a lot of learnings from pro sports and amateur sports, being involved in a team when you come into the consumer packaged goods world. I mean, whether it be our sales team or any other part of the company, I think there's a lot of learnings that we can bring. And so, sports, when you look at it, and team sport, is my intimate experience, is really a microcosm that you can study kind of human behavior through and performance through. And, you get words that get thrown out a lot, like culture or character, but it really allows you to dive deep into what these words mean for maybe you personally, or maybe your organization, and pin those things down. And so, we had a sales call yesterday where we got into that, and we got into that, what are we looking at when it comes to character of our sales team? Like, what are you going to do when things don't go your way? What are you going to do when things do go your way? What are you going to do when you feel valued, when you don't feel valued? What are your actions? How do you act? What's your level of grit if you have to adjust and adapt? And so those are the things that, they emerge over time with personalities within a company. And it's kind of, I think, been a huge asset to have that experience in such a competitive physical sport like hockey, where those things are so obvious to everyone on the team, and you bring that into the business world. So I haven't had too much of the negative to answer your original question.
Angela, how about you? I'm curious.
A little of both. Sometimes I forget that I played in 4 Olympics and that I have a gold medal, because I'm so like, I'm a CEO and that's what I do now and that's my past. But people love talking hockey and sport. And I'm like, oh yeah. Like, I have to remember. So sometimes, to a fault, like I'm always looking into the future. But I always have to remind myself, like, man, hockey was fun. Being an athlete was fun, and leverage that more. Honestly, lean on that more, because it does open doors, and it certainly, to Mike's point, all the intangibles of what I learned as an athlete definitely apply to the sports side. But one thing you guys did do in your marketing, I think you called it the multi-hyphenate, to describe how we're something other than an athlete. And I was like, oh, I love that expression.
No need. You can take it. Just use it. No need for citations. We're good. But sometimes, Eben, like you and I talk about years ago, I tell my David Stern stories. Could you imagine Angela sitting in the room with David when he had to fight with the players union to put a camera in the locker room at halftime. That's what it's like. You're banging your head against the wall with a CBA and why you're saying they can't get things done. And Mike, I will tell the story forever now that you reached 170,000 followers and freaked out and shut it down. and here's Lawson accumulating hundreds of thousands. He's going the opposite way. He wants more. This is a great discussion, where they were, where they are, how we can get better, and where we're headed. So thank you all for taking the time. We do appreciate it. I hope our viewers enjoyed it as much as I did.